Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where our telescope is just about in position over Joule. It will be momentarily. Well, not over Joule, slightly under Joule in respect to the Sun. So we will be in position here momentarily, and I did a little bit of research in between episodes on the way the grabbing claw works. Apparently it works just like any other docking port without the need to dock. You can just grab onto the asteroid and call it a day and transfer stuff around, apparently. So that's pretty neat. And definitely something I want to do. I want to test that out. So let's see if we can find ourselves a nice classy asteroid. So we've got an orbit just below that of Joule. So let's go ahead and start object tracking. It is currently mapping Joule. Okay. And do we get anything by transmitting it? I don't see anything currently. Okay. With that being the case, hypothetically, well, that is only view and tracking station. So we need to find ourselves a Class E asteroid, and there doesn't, from what I can tell at least, appear to be one around Joule. There probably is around Dress. There definitely is around Duna. We know for a fact there's one around Duna. So for the time being, let's head back to the Space Center and take a quick look at our contracts. Now, we're going to need to be working on our space station for a while. I don't think there's any other contracts available that we have right now. Let's double check that. Build a new orbital station around BOP. Okay, that's all we've got. Science data from surface of Ike. That's easy to do. Newly discovered Class B asteroid into an orbit around the moon. We're not going to do that immediately. Satellite in a specific orbit of Tylo. Hang on a moment. Do we have one around Tylo? I don't actually know. We're going to need to be working on our station for sure. Let's see here. We've got Vol, Lathe, Bop, Joule. We don't have one around Tylo. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. For sure. So let's grab position satellite in a specific orbit of Tylo. There we go. And we have science data from the surface of Ike. So let's go ahead and go do that really fast. Oh, come on. Into the tracking station. There we go. That will take virtually no time. Let's see here. Where are we? Landed at Duna, landed... There we go. Orbiting Ike. This again. We'll get some free money this way. And I think we're just going to do a really fast Sentinel mission to map asteroids around Duna, since we know that there's some there. We'll grab one at Duna and take it. It's going to be a long ways to go. I'm going to have to try to figure out exactly how much fuel that's going to take. And we'll go ahead and transmit this. Excellent. Did that not complete our contract? Oh, from surface of Ike. I am an idiot. Okay. Oh boy. So let's head to our Ike lander then, rather than our Ike satellite. That would help. At least as soon as it loads. There we go. To the tracking station. Okay. Landed at Ike. Here we go. Here's a Geraldo Mark II. Fantastic. So let's go ahead and transmit some science here, and then once that is done, we will send up another telescope. This will be a much faster telescope. So that is great. Do a temperature scan, transmit. And there we go. Contract complete. Back to the Space Center. Okay, so essentially all we need to do with this telescope is put it into orbit, break orbit of Kerbal going prograde, and then that's it. That should put us where we need to be for Ike, theoretically-ish. We may change inclination as well. Not Ike, Duna. We may change inclination as well, but it's essentially the same inclination, so I don't think we'll need to. We didn't have to before. So let's go ahead and open up the Sentinel Mark 1. And we'll relaunch this ship. And then we're going to need to launch ourselves an Asteroid Capture ship. And that's going to be an interesting thing to do. Can we not set asteroids as a target? If not, that's going to be weird. Although maybe we have to have, like, specific tracking data on it. I don't know. We'll have to see how all that works. But for right now, let's just get this thing into orbit around the sun. That is step 1. So off we go. I don't like what you're doing with this here roll, MechJub. What is your plan? Oh, stick it like that? Yeah, that's fine, actually. That's completely fine. Oh, that's less fine. What are you doing? Uh-huh. You going that way, huh? Hello, what are you? Oh, that's our landing trajectory. If we were to cut engines right now. We are not going to cut engines right now. Instead, we're just going to rotate out about like this. There we go. Okay, so we just put this just above Kerbal, and we'll be able to get there pretty quickly. And theoretically, we should be in a good position to scout out the asteroids around Duna, at which point we'll launch an asteroid capture mission. We have 40 years to put that satellite over Tylo, so we should be fine, theoretically-ish. Takes like 3 years to get a single part out there, which is a little obnoxious, and we're going to have to do several, but we'll do it in several chunks, you know? I mean, we're going to have... Come on, get out of there, Ascent Guidance. We're gonna need to have 6,000 units of liquid fuel in our station. Now, we won't have to send it there full, actually. We can mine the asteroids and create the fuel. That is completely viable, and that might be something we do. We need to have 3 engineers on the station, which is going to be, what, at least 2 flights-ish? Well, maybe not necessarily. And the facility needs to support 10 Kerbals. All things considered, we can probably do that. In what? We have our grabber, we have our manned flight, and then we have our miscellaneous things, like the fuel and, well, some of the fuel at least, and the 10 Kerbal capacity. These things are going to be interesting, but we're going to put most of those in at the Joule system. Now, I don't know how much is actually in... Hang on, we need to do a little bit here. I don't know how much ore is actually in an asteroid. Does it have an infinite amount of ore? That's something I need to figure out. KSP asteroid ore. Asteroids contain a finite amount of ore. Okay. Good to know. The amount of ore on a non-asteroid celestial body is infinite, though. Drilling must be done on solid surfaces. Yep. Okay. So we can go ahead and just burn prograde at this point. That'll be fine. And while we're doing that, I'm going to keep researching this. So drilling continues to function through time warp. That is good to know. Let's see here. I'm just trying to figure out exactly how much ore the asteroid would have. If mining an asteroid, the mass of the asteroid will be reduced by the amount of ore extracted. There's no need to use any scanners to find out the ore concentrations for asteroids. It's close enough to, or it's enough to be close to it or on it. Okay, so we will know how much ore is there. Excellent. I'm just trying to figure out if it's going to be viable to mine the ore to convert to fuel from the asteroid itself and then move the asteroid. We're going to have to be careful not to completely deplete the asteroid if we do that. So there is that. Okay. So this theoretically should be almost correct. I want to burn maybe a little more prograde. Yeah, that'll be fine. And then we can just circularize here. Whoops, that was retrograde. We can then just circularize here. So go right about like... Oh, come on. Come on. There we go. Right about like that-ish. Maneuver planner. Execute next node. Okay. So that'll be relatively easy to do. We are unfortunately not going to be quite outside of the orbit here. We will be once we get up here. However, we should probably go ahead and physics warp this turn. There we go. And then we'll just warp around to over here. And we'll find ourselves what we're looking for. I think we can get this done in about 3 missions, if it's planned appropriately. The very first mission will be the grab mission, and that I want to have enough Delta V to hopefully move the thing. Oh hey, look at this. We do have some Class E's over here now. Okay. Now that's interesting. So we'll just leave this where it's at then, in that case, and we can ditch the fairing. That should have been done a while ago, as soon as we're done with this time warp. In fact, let's abort the node execution. And let's do that right now. And we don't have any probe control, because I did not get rid of the fairing. Excellent. Okay. Go ahead and execute next node. So, MechJeb was supposed to get rid of the fairing, but it never does. And I completely forgot to. And we don't need this thing anyway. This was kind of a waste of time. Let's just revert it. Oh boy. Yeah, let's just revert it. It was kind of a waste of time. We now know that there are Class E asteroids over by Jool. I just wasn't patient enough. So let's go ahead and make a grabber. It's going to be based on this thing, definitely. We're going to ditch the Sentinel. And instead, we're going to have an advanced grabbing unit on this. Where exactly? How many people are in this? Capacity of 16 Kerbals? Holy crap. Oh my. And it's not even that huge. Okay, it's a little huge. But it's not that huge. Okay, so Convertitrons and Drillimatics would be interesting, to be sure. Let's see here. I would like to have, like, a pair of Drillimatic Juniors on here. Let's ditch these. Well, actually, let's just, like, stack them over here. So, a negative Gravioli detector, and what did I just take off? Well, we've got a seismic accelerator here. We've got a mystery goo containment unit that I'm going to completely get rid of. And then I'm going to stick the Communitron here. And then I think we ditched the barometer. Yeah, we ditched the barometer. So I'll just stick a barometer right here. Okay. Next, we, or at least I, want to have an ore hold on here. And I want that to be right about... Hang on. Where exactly is the ore hold? Payload. No? Utility? Where is the ore hold at? Hang on a moment. Ore. Here it is. We'll have a radial holding tank. I mean, we'll probably put it right here, except rotate it to be this direction-ish. And I want it to be symmetrical. Like so. We will launch with it empty. And then let's put on a Convertotron, which is this guy. We want a Convertotron 125. Like so. Fantastic. Okay, can this convert into xenon? Out of curiosity? Let's see here. Resource converter. Inputs ore and electric charge, outputs monopropellant. Ore and electric charge outputs oxidizer. Ore and electric charge liquid fuel and oxidizer. Or ore and electric charge liquid fuel. It does not output xenon. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. I'm going to move our radial holding tanks up here, actually, to be like there. And then I do want a pair of Drill-O-Matic Juniors facing... Oh, come on. That's not the direction I want them to be facing. I want them to be facing this direction and be mounted, like, right there. Yeah, that should be enough, I think. Hopefully. We can test it, actually. So, let's then get ourselves an advanced grabbing unit, which is payload? I don't actually know where these things are. Advanced grabbing unit. Here it is. Fantastic. Okay, so if we deploy this, that's how big it is. Gotcha. Okay, so I'm going to call this the Grabber Mark 1, and I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to ditch off everything temporarily and just flip this around. I want to run a quick test here, and I'm going to ditch the decoupler there. I'm not going to save it. We're just going to launch. I want to test a couple of things. One, what happens if we use the grabber when we're just sitting on it? Two, if we grab, does the drill reach? Those are the things I want to test. So let's find out. As soon as we can. There we go. Okay. So, we are tipping over. Okay. Well, that was, I guess, not unexpected. Okay, so the grabber doesn't go very far. I think the drills are going to reach, but first we need to revert this back to launch. And I want to be on surface up immediately. Or just kill rot. Kill rot might be better. Let's go to kill rot. And let's grab. Okay, that tipped us over. Interesting. So let's go back to launch again, and let's be on kill rot. That seemed to stop us from tipping over a little bit. And then I don't think it's going to be too much further. We might want to move up the drills slightly. Although maybe not hugely. Yeah, it looks like we just have no control over that. That's fine. Okay. So let's just revert this back to vehicle assembly. And I think what we need to do in that case is simply load in our full version. That would be the Grabber Mark 1. Here we go. And I do want to move our Drill-O-Matic Juniors up slightly if I can. It would appear that they cannot be mounted to the Grabber. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. So this appears to be as high as they'll go. Want to be on 2x symmetry. There. And I'm going to move up our ore hold as well, as high as I can. Fantastic. While we're at it, I want to move... Whoops. I want to move our Gigantors up a bit. I do want 4 Gigantors on here, for sure. So that we have some power. And then the question is, do we ditch the Xenon? I think maybe we do ditch the Xenon. Move everything up a little bit here. We don't need to be on 4x symmetry. Move the mech jeb to be right about here. We can then ditch this decoupler, temporarily at least, as well as these strut connectors. We can ditch the Dawn. Negative gravioli detector can go up here. Press map barometer can go up here. And then the computer flight unit would be able to go right about here. And then we ditch the Xenon. The Gigantors would be able to be moved up a little bit. Something along the lines of that-ish. That should be fine. And then that's the fairing there. So we are going to need potentially a decoupler, but we don't have any reason actually to decouple this at this point. If we don't have the Delta V in this stage, we're kind of donezo. So let's go ahead and add in perhaps a lot of extra fuel. Perhaps a way lot of extra fuel. Like maybe an extra Jumbo 64 tank. Like that. And instead of a nuclear engine, maybe let's go with something with a little bit better thrust to weight. I have no idea what we're looking at on that thing. I don't like the Jumbo 64. I think instead we go for a 32. And then the question is, if we aren't using a nuclear engine, what will we use? Well, there are a few options. We could use something like a Rhino. Of course, that's a little too big. It's a Kerbadyne part, and we're using Rockamax parts. We could change it. Realistically, I really like having the nuclear engines. However, for purposes of thrust to weight, we might want to do this a little bit differently than we have been in the past. Maybe what we do is we stack on or radially mount the engines. Like, if we, hypothetically, were to use something along the lines of... Where are you? You would be under structural, wouldn't you? Hypothetically, if we were to use something along the lines of a quad adapter, like this, we could then have 4 nuclear engines running. And we'd not have to carry oxidizer, and we'd also not have to create oxidizer if we run out of fuel, which would be nice. That would be very nice, in fact. And then we'd have something along the lines of that. The thrust to weight would still be incredibly low, But ultimately, I think that's fine. Then the question is, how do we attach this? Well, it's a good question. One thing we can do, and I've had some success with before, is stacking on 4 decouplers on this thing. So something along the lines of TD12? Yeah, something along the lines of that. And then getting rid of that, putting that on like that. It's just a little awkward. And I'm not sure how strong that'll be. But something along those lines is what I've done before with this sort of a structure. Okay, this thing should theoretically get us there-ish. Let's see, our max delta V is 8,617. Now, one thing I would like to do, actually, is I'd like to have as much delta V as possible when we get there. So I would like to quad couple our boosters, like we've done with our rover. Something along the lines of that. Although, you know, maybe lowered a little bit. Maybe a little more. Still a bit more. I like to be resting on our outer stages rather than our inner. Yeah, that'll be fine. Okay, so we have fuel going in on all of our outer stages. Excellent. And then we've got these fire all at once. And then our outer stages detach. This should not be here. This should be in its own stage and substantially higher. Because we do not want that to be firing. That's probably why our delta V is so low, actually. Yeah, that's better. That gives us about an extra 2,000 delta V right there. Okay, and then we want that to drop off, and then we want those to fire. So then, hang on, there's an extra decoupler here that I don't think we need. Yeah. So let's, oh, nope, I want to place the part. So let's pop this on off. We don't need this decoupler. Pop this back on. Double check our staging. Excellent. So these should fire at the same time as the engine. So they decouple, engines fire here. We don't need a stage 1. And then the fairing I'll do manually. Something along those lines. Ish. Okay. We've got that designed. I'm going to go ahead and put a cut in here, and then next episode, we'll get this thing in orbit and figure out which asteroid we're going after and how we're going to get there. See you all then.